you've heard the phrase, that's what Christmas is all about. Perhaps you've heard it in the past few weeks. I know I have. In fact, I got it from a shop assistant just the other day. She'd asked me, what I do, and I had to say, I'm a minister. Oh, you're a pastor. And I said, yeah. And she said, oh, must be a busy time of year. I said, it's a very busy time of year for me. Yes. And she said, yes, all those lonely people around. And I went, yeah, them too, but I've got a lot of services to prepare as well. That's what I was thinking. And she said, well, looking after people, that's what Christmas is all about. You fill in your own blank, apparently, about what Christmas is all about. And you hear it in so many contexts. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's what Christmas is all about. And you see it on movies, and it just comes up all the time. I've got to say, there are times when I want to scream, because it seems that's what Christmas is all about, can cover just about anything that the speaker is interested in at the time. Suddenly, that becomes what Christmas is all about. You see where I'm going with this? I can't help wondering how the full meaning of the season can be missed. Many people will soon be putting away the decorations, bringing down the Christmas tree, and returning to a more routine way of life. In our little street in Stuart Park, I'm hoping that gets underway pretty soon, because we got one guy who does the big Christmas lights display that everyone comes to see. And if you arrive home when the sun's down, we had to go round the block last night because there were so many cars in the street. So I'm hoping he'll get his Christmas decorations and lights down fairly soon and life can get back to normal. The rule is, of course, that you have to have them down. There's 12 days of Christmas starting today, and you're meant to have them all packed away by Epiphany, which is 12 days' time. Christmas might last longer than that for some of us, though, because we've got to pay off our swollen credit cards. We've got to return any ill-fitting or unwanted gifts, and then we can get back to a more routine way of life, COVID-19 notwithstanding. But before you and I get back to the routine, let's stop for a moment and let's dwell on the real and impacting meaning of Christmas. A meaning that centres on God becoming human to show his love for us, to give us purpose and hope, and to save us as a race of people. And so in the Gospel of Luke we heard, this shall be the sign to you. You'll find the baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. That is so typical of God. Always understating things. God even employs such a low-key sign that many miss the word. The special sign that witnesses to the beginning of Earth's unique visitation is just a little baby wrapped up in its bunny rug and lying on straw within the feed bin of a cowshed. We humans, we like the big signs, the big events, lots of overstatement. Witness the mighty machismo that goes on before a football grand final. No reaction. Nothing.
Oh, it's hard, mate.
Oh, ho hum, because his team keeps winning. Witness the extravaganza that precedes an Olympic Games. Witness the glitz and shallow razzle-dazzle of an Oscars award ceremony. Big signs, big events. That's the human style that we like. We like it that way. But it's not God's way. God comes humbly, without putting on any airs and graces. Not to capital cities with a civic reception, but sleeping rough on the edge of a country town watched over by a carpenter called Joe and a teenage mother called Mary. Not a palace, not a Porsche in sight. His first visitors are a bunch of country yokels, still smelling of sheep and the soil and the grass. And this shall be a sign to you. You'll find the baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. Well, this kind of humility doesn't please everybody. It doesn't even please all the churches of the world. A lot of congregations still want a lot of pomp and circumstance. They want dramatic signs from God. They'd like God to do something more startling. They echo the writer of the psalm that we heard just a few weeks ago. Why don't you rip open the skies and come down? They claim they would have a firmer faith if God would stop all these humble stunts and show his hand in a gala performance. Not going to happen, because God's humility is not a stunt. It's not some quirky PR exercise. The Lord Jesus in that stable stays true to God's nature. God is awesome, holy humility. Therefore, in spite of our pleading and at times our complaining, flamboyant signs are rarely given to us. Jesus himself distrusted signs, and he refused to satisfy those who demanded them of him. A faithless and perverse generation is how he described those who want some religious pizzazz. The key miracles are Christ's humble birth, his simple ministry amongst the common people, his sufferings as an abused prisoner, the shame of the cross, and the unlikely story of the resurrection. God has not altered since these events. The signs stay humble. For those of us born so long after that incarnation event, God continues to give us low-key signs. The signature sign of the Lord's presence are found when we come together around this table and we share those most basic of foodstuffs, some bread and some wine. That's the kind of sign that God specializes in, just plain bread and wine. It's utterly congruent with the Holy Child who was born in a stable in Bethlehem, was placed to sleep in a manger, and was worshipped by a bunch of smelly shepherds. In the UK, there's a novelist called Anne Perry. I don't know if you've ever come across her. And she wrote one sort of spiritual saga called Tathia. There's quite a few good passages in there, although I understand that Anne Perry might have some Mormon leanings. But in one episode, Asmodeus, who's like the Satan adversary figure, is debating the value of signs and miracles with God. The adversary argues for miraculous action that would make people sit up and take notice. Satan says, cause those miracles now and you'll create man's belief. And God says in response, miracles to the unbelieving create awe and sometimes obedience for a little space. Then they're forgotten. They are reasoned away and people forget me. Or else they become superstitious and seek after more signs to prove and test me. That is not faith, nor is it honour, nor yet love. Faith is the courage to walk the untrodden path and face the terrors of the night, solely because the heart has heard my voice and will follow it forever. If one will show that trust in me and live by my every word, then nothing within the law of heaven is impossible. Has Anne Perry got it right? If by the voice she means Christ, the living word, then I believe she has got it right. Only one sign generates such love in our hearts and enables us to live with a special kind of courage. The Word became flesh and lived among us. And this shall be the sign to you. You'll find the baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. So this we should understand. God came not as we might expect him, powerful and almighty, but as we least expect him. In fact, he so surprised us that even today, 2,000 years after he became human, many still miss him. And many still expect him to reveal himself to us in grander and more powerful ways. Yet God, in God's infinite wisdom, chose to come to us as a baby, as a small and very dependent little infant. And his subtle ways are easy to miss if we allow ourselves to be distracted by the routine of our lives. But there's yet one very important aspect of Christmas that we can't forget, that we must understand, because it gives real meaning to this season. This one, I believe, is more important than any other. The birth of Christ. The birth of Christ leads eventually to the cross. A price he paid to prove his love for us. The scriptures tell us plainly that no greater love is there than the love expressed by a man who lays down his life for us. Jesus, who is God, laid down his life as a man so that we, deserving of death, might live forever in his presence. This is the truth that is born in us in this season we call Christmas. This is the truth that gives birth to all hope in all of us in this season. If you and I recognize love's humble sign and stake our life on it, then all kinds of surprises become possible. Christmas then is no longer a ritual repeated since our childhood, but a recall to the things that are worth living for and worth